Every legend has a beginning. Nicholson's journey did not start on red carpets, but in the dusty sound stages of Roger Corman, the king of the bees. This was his school, his creative laboratory, where he learned to survive, to improvise, and to hone the nervous energy that would later electrify the screen. The Crybaby Killer, 1958, the very beginning. As Jimmy Wallace, a teenager who panics after a fight and takes hostages, Nicholson is a raw nerve. It's a performance without polish, but it possesses a frantic, desperate energy that hints at the intensity to come. Too Soon to Love, 1960. A minor role as a side character in a cautionary tale about teenage pregnancy. The Wild Ride, 1960. His first leading role saw him embody the cheap thrills nihilism of a delinquent joyrider, Johnny Varron. It's a prototypical bad boy part, but Nicholson imbues it with a sullen charisma that elevates it beyond standard B-movie fare. Studs Lonigan, 1960. A brief appearance as a member of a street gang in this ambitious adaptation of the classic novel. The Broken Land, 1962. A forgettable part as a henchman in a low-budget western. The Terror, 1963. A legend of low-budget ingenuity, Nicholson plays a French officer lost in a gothic nightmare, working alongside horror icon Boris Karloff. The film was famously cobbled together by director Roger Corman in a matter of days, forcing the young actor to learn how to create a character out of thin air and pure will. The Raven, 1963. In this Corman-directed horror comedy, he holds his own against legends Vincent Price and Peter Lorre. His comedic turn as Lorre's son, Rexford, who spends much of the film transformed into a raven, showcases an early and often overlooked flair for the absurd. Ensign Pulver, 1964. A small part in a mainstream studio comedy, an early attempt to integrate his edgy persona into the Hollywood system, which clearly didn't know what to make of him yet. Flight to Fury, 1964. A crucial step. Not only did he star as a greedy, diamond-obsessed villain, but he also wrote the screenplay. This demonstrated an early ambition to shape his own material and control his destiny, refusing to be just a face for hire. Backdoor to Hell, 1964. He brought a weary grit to his role as one of 3 American soldiers on a commando mission in the Philippines. The Shooting, 1966. A watershed moment for both Nicholson and independent cinema. He produced and starred as Billy Spear, a chillingly effortless hitman. This was no ordinary western. It was an existential, minimalist acid western that deconstructed the genre's myths. Nicholson's performance is stark and terrifyingly modern. Ride in the Whirlwind, 1966. Shot back-to-back with The Shooting and also written by Nicholson, this film cast him as Wes, a cowboy wrongly accused and forced on the run. Together, these 2 films represent his formal graduation from Corman's School of Exploitation to the forefront of American auteur filmmaking. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre, 1967. A tiny role as Gino, one of Al Capone's hitmen. Hell's Angels on Wheels, 1967. As the gas station attendant nicknamed Poet, he's an outsider among outsiders. A thoughtful observer drawn to the raw energy of a biker gang. The role perfectly captures his unique position, part of the counterculture, yet intellectually separate from it. Psych Out, 1968. Nicholson plays Stoney, the world-weary leader of a psychedelic rock band. He serves as a guide through the vibrant but perilous world of San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury, embodying the era's mix of spiritual searching and creeping disillusionment. Head, 1968. A truly bizarre and brilliant piece of pop art cinema. Nicholson co-wrote this surrealist deconstruction of the monkey's manufactured image. His own cameo as a condescending movie director is a wry, self-aware jab at the very industry he was about to conquer. Easy Rider, 1969. The moment the world stood up and took notice. A last-minute replacement for Rip Torn, Nicholson's arrival as the alcoholic ACLU lawyer George Hansen is like a bolt of lightning. He is magnetic, hilarious, and ultimately profoundly tragic. His monologue about Venusians and freedom is the film's philosophical heart, articulating the bittersweet dream of the counterculture just before it died. This single performance, brimming with intelligence and pathos, earned him his first Oscar nomination and instantly made him the face of the new Hollywood. On a Clear Day, You Can See Forever, 1970. A quirky supporting turn as Barbra Streisand's rebellious stepbrother in a lavish movie musical, The Rebel Rousers, 1970. A belatedly released biker film from his pre-stardom days, Five Easy Pieces, 1970. This is the role that cemented his status as the preeminent actor of his generation. As Robert Eroka Dupea, a classically trained pianist who has exiled himself to a life on oil rigs, Nicholson crafted the definitive portrait of the alienated American male. Dupea is trapped between classes, between intellect and instinct, and his rage is the cry of a man who is too smart for his world but too cowardly to change it. The iconic chicken salad sandwich scene is famous for its rebellious wit, but the film's true power lies in its quiet, devastating moments of emotional failure, culminating in one of cinema's most haunting final shots. Carnal Knowledge, 1971. A brave and searing performance. Directed by Mike Nichols, the film dissects decades of misogyny and emotional arrested development through two men. Nicholson's Jonathan is a charming but predatory user of women, and the actor makes no attempt to soften his character's ugly core. It's a clinical, uncomfortable, and brilliant exploration of the dark side of masculinity. A Safe Place, 1971. A role as a mysterious, magical figure named Mitch in an experimental film by his friend Henry Jaglom. The King of Marvin Gardens, 1972. In this bleak and poetic masterpiece from Bob Rafelson, Nicholson delivers one of his most subtle and introverted performances. As the depressive radio monologist David Stabler, he is the quiet anchor to his brother's Bruce Dern manic, doomed fantasies. It's a study in melancholy and a showcase for his ability to convey deep emotion with minimal expression. The Last Detail, 1973. A signalman Billy Badass Badusky, Nicholson is a force of nature. Tasked with escorting a young sailor to prison, he decides to give the boy a last taste of life. The performance is a masterclass in behavioral realism. It is loud, profane, funny, and suffused with a deep, unspoken sadness. Beneath the swagger is a man railing against the petty cruelties of an indifferent system. Chinatown, 1974. Perfection. In Roman Polanski's flawless neo-noir, Nicholson creates the definitive private eye of modern cinema. J.J. Gittes is smart, arrogant and stylish, but he's in over his head from the moment he takes the case. The bandage on his nose becomes an iconic symbol of his and our inability to truly comprehend the depths of human corruption. Nicholson masterfully charts Gittes' journey from cynical opportunist to a man shattered by a truth far more terrible than he could have imagined. The final devastating line, "Forget it, Jake, it's Chinatown," is not just the end of a film. It's the death of a certain kind of American optimism. The Fortune, 1975. A frantic farcical comedy that paired him with Warren Beatty as two hapless con artists. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975. This is not just a performance, it is a cultural earthquake. As Randall P. McMurphy, Nicholson is pure anarchic life force, a joyous, rebellious spirit determined to liberate the oppressed spirits of a psychiatric ward. His battle with the chillingly serene Nurse Ratched is one of cinema's great allegorical conflicts. The individual versus the institution, chaos versus order, life versus a living death. Nicholson's energy is volcanic. He is hilarious, dangerous, and ultimately a tragic martyr for freedom. It was the role he was born to play, and it rightfully earned him his first Academy Award for Best Actor. Tommy, 1975. a flamboyant cameo as the slick specialist who tries to cure the titular pinball wizard. The Missouri Breaks, 1976, a strange and fascinating anti-western that pitted Nicholson's relatively straightforward horse thief against the bizarre improvisational theatrics of Marlon Brando. The Last Tycoon, 1976, a small but as potent role as a communist union organizer, where he goes head-to-head with Robert De Niro in a single powerful scene. Going South, 1978. He stepped behind the camera to direct himself in the shaggy, good-natured comedic western about a charming outlaw who marries to avoid the gallows. The Shining, 1980, a towering achievement in horror cinema. In Stanley Kubrick's chilling adaptation of Stephen King's novel, Nicholson's Jack Torrance is not a man who is simply driven mad by a haunted hotel. He is a man whose inner demons find a welcome home there. The performance is a symphony of escalating mania, from the subtle tics of frustration to the full-blown axe-wielding psychosis. It's a terrifyingly controlled performance about the loss of control, and his ad-libbed "Here's Johnny" has become one of the most iconic lines in film history. This role transformed him from a great actor into a creature of cinematic myth. The Postman Always Rings Twice, 1981. A smoldering, noir-soaked performance as Frank Chambers, a drifter whose lust for a married woman leads to murder. The film is famous for its raw, explicit sexuality, and Nicholson's performance is appropriately carnal and desperate. Reds, 1981. In a supporting role that earned him an Oscar nomination, he plays the disillusioned playwright Eugene O'Neill with a profound sense of melancholy and intellectual bitterness. While others are swept up in revolutionary fervor, his O'Neill is the cynical, clear-eyed observer who knows how it will all end. It's a masterful piece of understated acting. The Border, 1982. A solid, gritty performance as a Border Patrol agent whose conscience is awakened by the corruption and human misery he witnesses. Terms of Endearment, 1983. After a series of intense dark roles, Nicholson pivoted with breathtaking ease to win his second Oscar. As the boozy, pot-bellied ex-astronaut Garrett Breedlove, he is the embodiment of irresistible charm. He takes what could have been a simple comic relief character and infuses him with surprising vulnerability and warmth. His chemistry with Shirley MacLaine is electric, and the performance proved that no one was better at being both a scoundrel and a sweetheart, often in the very same scene. Prizzi's Honor, 1985. A wonderfully sly and funny performance as Charlie Partana, a mafia hitman who is utterly devoted to his deadly profession, but helplessly naive when it comes to love. Nicholson brilliantly plays against his intelligent persona, creating a character of endearing thickness. Heartburn, 1986. He played the charmingly philandering husband to Meryl Streep in this acidic comedy drama. The Witches of Eastwick, 1987. If ever a role was perfectly tailored to an actor's persona, it was this one. As Daryl Van Horn, quite literally the devil, Nicholson was given a license to unleash the full force of his seductive, anarchic charisma. He is hilarious, menacing, and utterly captivating as he gleefully corrupts a sleepy New England town. The performance is a joyous celebration of the Jack persona, the dangerously charming rogue with a devilish grin. Broadcast News, 1987. A brief, uncredited cameo as a veteran news anchor, a favor to director James L. Brooks. Ironweed, 1987. In one of the most harrowing and accomplished performances of his career, he plays Francis Phelan, a man broken by guilt and ravaged by alcoholism during the Great Depression. Disappearing under a mask of grime and despair, Nicholson delivers a performance of immense physical and emotional commitment, completely shedding his movie star glamour to reveal the raw, aching soul of a lost man. Batman, 1989. This wasn't just a role, it was a pop culture coronation. As the Joker, Nicholson created a villain for the ages. He eschewed psychological realism for a grand theatrical performance, presenting the Joker as a psychopathic artist whose medium is mayhem. His vibrant, terrifying and hilarious portrayal perfectly counterbalanced the film's gothic gloom and set the gold standard for comic book villains on screen. Thanks to a landmark deal that gave him a percentage of the profits, the role also made him astonishingly wealthy. The Two Jakes, 1990. Nicholson directed and reprised his most famous role in this belated, deeply melancholic sequel to Chinatown. His older J.J. Gittes is haunted by the pest, a man moving through a post-war world that has grown even more corrupt. Trouble, 1992. A forgettable screwball comedy. A Few Good Men, 1992. This is arguably the most impactful supporting performance of the decade. In only a few scenes as the fanatical Colonel Nathan R. Jessup, Nicholson creates an indelible portrait of military arrogance and warped patriotism. His presence looms over the entire film, culminating in a volcanic courtroom confession. The monologue, capped by the immortal line, "You can't handle the truth," is a masterclass in controlled fury, a display of such terrifying conviction that it earned him yet another Oscar nomination. Hoffa, Niton Nitito. Buried under convincing makeup, Nicholson delivers a powerful, bulldog-like performance as the notoriously combative and complex Union leader Jimmy Hoffa. He captures the man's charisma, his ruthlessness, and his unwavering belief in his own cause. Wolf, 1994. An intelligent and elegant horror film that uses lycanthropy as a metaphor for aging, territoriality, and the rediscovery of primal instincts. Nicholson is perfectly cast as the mild-mannered book editor whose transformation into a werewolf is both liberating and tragic. The Crossing Guard, 1995. In Sean Penn's grim drama, he gives a quiet, impulsive performance as a man whose life has been hollowed out by grief and is now animated only by a singular desire for revenge. Blood and Wine, 1996. A solid neo-noir that saw him playing a world-weary thief in a story of betrayal and desperation. The Evening Star, 1996. A brief, warm-hearted cameo reprising his Oscar-winning role of Garrett Breedlove. Mars Attacks, 1996. In Tim Burton's chaotic sci-fi satire, he brilliantly plays dual roles: the well-meaning but ineffectual President James Dale and the sleazy Las Vegas hustler Art Land, showcasing his vast comedic range. As Good as It Gets, 1997. A monumental achievement that brought him his third Academy Award. As Melvin Udall, a brilliant writer whose life is crippled by obsessive-compulsive disorder and a venomous misanthropy, Nicholson delivered one of the most complex performances of his career. It is a technical marvel, capturing the precise physical and verbal tics of OCD, but its genius lies in the humanity he uncovers. He makes this horrible man understandable, then funny, and finally, against all odds, lovable. It's a tightrope walk of a performance balancing brutal comedy with profound vulnerability, and it is a masterpiece. The Pledge, 2001. Working again with Sean Penn, Nicholson gives a haunting, vanity-free performance as Jerry Black, a retired detective whose promise to a grieving mother metastasizes into a soul-destroying obsession. We watch as the sharp, confident detective slowly erodes, leaving a broken, mumbling shell of a man. About Schmidt, 2002. In perhaps his bravest performance, Nicholson completely dismantles his own icon status. As the recently widowed and retired Warren Schmidt, he is a man of profound mediocrity, adrift in a life he barely recognizes. Stripped of his trademark grin and explosive energy, Nicholson uses subtle, almost imperceptible gestures to convey a lifetime of regret and loneliness. The film's power culminates in the final scene, where a simple drawing from his African foster child finally breaks through his emotional dam. It's a quiet, devastating, and masterful piece of acting. Anger Management, 2003. A gleefully over-the-top comedic performance where he plays an unorthodox therapist designed to push Adam Sandler's character over the edge. It's Jack in pure entertainment mode. Something's Gotta Give, 2003. A wonderfully charming and self-aware romantic comedy. He plays Harry Sanborn, an aging music mogul who has exclusively dated younger women, only to fall for a brilliant, age-appropriate woman, Diane Keaton. The role allows him to playfully satirize his own public persona as a legendary ladies' man. The Departed, 2006. His last great roar. As the sadistic Boston Irish mob boss Frank Costello, Nicholson is a creature of pure, terrifying idicar. Working with Martin Scorsese, he created a villain who was not just evil, but unpredictably and gleefully so. Many of his most chilling moments were improvised, adding a layer of genuine danger to the proceedings. It was a spectacular return to the kind of mesmerizing monster he could play better than anyone. The Bucket List, 2007. A warm, poignant film pairing him with Morgan Freeman. As a cantankerous billionaire facing his own mortality, Nicholson brings both humor and gravity to this story about friendship and living life to the fullest before it's too late. How Do You Know, 2010. His final screen role to date. A supporting turn as the ethically compromised corporate executive and father to Paul Rudd's character. It was not a grand farewell, but a quiet, professional exit from the stage. 59 roles, 59 lives lived on screen. Jack Nicholson didn't just play parts, he was a barometer of his time. He showed us that chaos could be charming, that madness could be meaningful, and that a vulnerable soul could hide within the most hardened cynic. He has left the stage, but his legacy, in every defiant stare, in every dangerous smile, in every moment of pure, unadulterated cinema, will live forever.